I'm really against young kids taking steroids, teenagers, even in your early 20s. It's
every half an hour throughout the day for 8 hours straight, killing your arms. And yes, it's 8 hours long.
You should always be trying to better yourself.
But if you go on a show that it's okay to take steroids, and you take steroids, that's not cheating.
Don't ever be skeptical. Don't ever question, don't ever, I don't know, or I can't.
Once you start taking steroids, your testosterone levels, your testes shut down, and they no longer work. So
Rich Piana's candid admission. Rich Piana was as transparent as a freshly cleaned window when it came to talking about his journey with steroids. He didn't tiptoe around the topic or hide behind curtains of secrecy. Nope, he flung those curtains wide open and invited everyone in for a chat. Picture this: a young Rich Piana, fresh-faced and eager, dipping his toes into the world of bodybuilding. At just 18, he decided to take the plunge into the deep end of the steroid pool, and boy, did he dive in head first. He experimented with the classic test and deca style, a cocktail of testosterone and decadurabolin that's practically a rite of passage in bodybuilding circles.
but if you go on a show that it's okay to take steroids, and you take steroids, that's not cheating.
How do you know what you're reading is true? What makes you sure that everything you're reading is 100% correct?
Knowing that you never have to ever think about how you're going to pay for this, how you're going to pay for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's normal. A lot of people, sent me private messages asking me, do you really go off for it?
The biggest mistake is people get content with their situation and they just stay there.
The thing is I can't really say I'm for steroids, but I'm not really against steroids. It's a personal choice.
Now let's talk results. When Piana looked in the mirror after that first cycle, he must have felt like he'd stumbled upon the fountain of gains. His muscles bulged, his strength skyrocketed, and suddenly he was living in a bodybuilder's dreamland. It was like watching a flower bloom in fast forward, except instead of petals, it was biceps blossoming before his very eyes. But here's the kicker: Piana didn't keep his steroid use under wraps. Nope, he shouted it from the rooftops, or rather from his YouTube channel. He wanted everyone to know that steroids were part of his journey, for better or for worse. And that honesty, that unfiltered truthfulness, is what made him stand out in a world where secrets are as common as protein shakes. So while some folks might have raised their eyebrows at Piana's openness about steroids, others applauded his bravery. After all, in a world where so many people pretend to be something they're not, here was a guy who laid it all out on the table, gains, side effects, and all. And for that, he'll always be remembered as one of the realest in the game. The aftermath of abstinence. After the wild ride of steroid use, Rich Piana found himself facing a whole new set of challenges when he decided to pump the brakes on those gains-enhancing substances. It was like coming down from the ultimate high, except instead of a smooth landing, he hit some rough turbulence. Physically, Piana had to navigate uncharted territory. His body, once pumped full of synthetic hormones, had to readjust to producing its own natural testosterone. It was like a symphony conductor suddenly losing their sheet music. Everything felt out of tune and offbeat. Muscles deflated, strength dwindled, and Piana had to rediscover what it meant to build his physique from the ground up without the crutch of steroids. But the real struggle wasn't just physical, it was psychological too. Piana had to grapple with the mental toll of coming off steroids. Suddenly, he was faced with doubts and insecurities that he hadn't felt in years. It was like stepping out of a superhero costume and realizing you're just a regular person underneath. Piana had to confront his own identity, stripped bare of the artificial enhancements that had become so intertwined with his sense of self.
As in bodybuilding, they don't test for it, and it doesn't seem to be a problem.
Every half an hour throughout the day for 8 hours straight, killing your arms. And yes, it's 8 hours long.
Yeah, and if you continue on it and you're not taking it right, pretty soon the antibiotic won't work at all.
I'm really against young kids taking steroids, teenagers, even in your early 20s. It's
people out there, you don't know anything. Whatever you read is not the answer.
Yet through it all, Piana remained steadfast in his commitment to proper recovery and maintaining his health. He knew that bouncing back from steroid use wasn't just about hitting the gym harder or popping a few extra supplements. It was about giving his body the time and care it needed to heal. Whether it was through dietary adjustments, hormone therapy, or good old-fashioned rest, Piana made sure to prioritize his well-being above all else. So while the aftermath of abstinence wasn't easy for Rich Piana, it was a journey he faced head-on with courage and determination. And in the end, perhaps it was this resilience that truly defined his legacy, not just as a bodybuilder, but as a survivor in the ever-changing landscape of fitness and self-discovery. The evolution of bodybuilding. Rich Piana wasn't just a bodybuilder, he was a visionary who saw the shifting tides of his beloved sport and dared to speak out about it. As he watched the landscape of bodybuilding change before his very eyes, he couldn't help but notice the creeping shadow of steroid use casting a pall over the once pure pursuit of pumping iron. In his trademark no-nonsense style, Piana didn't mince words when it came to criticizing the direction in which bodybuilding was headed. He saw a sport that was becoming increasingly obsessed with shortcuts and quick fixes, where the size of your syringe mattered more than the sweat on your brow, and he wasn't having any of it. For Piana, bodybuilding wasn't just about building muscle, it was about building character. It was about the blood, sweat, and tears that went into sculpting a physique, not the chemicals that could be injected to inflate it artificially. He longed for the days when bodybuilders were revered for their dedication and discipline, not their drug stashes and needle marks. So, he sounded the alarm, rallying against the tide of steroid use and calling for a return to the core principles of bodybuilding.
And also taking more is not better.
No, it's definitely not. But people don't want to listen to certain things.
You should always be trying to better yourself.
My body, all of a sudden, boom, a break. What's going on? It doesn't know what's
Exactly.
Then all of a sudden I hit it hard again, you know?
Yeah, I just joined a gym, so I need protein powder. Now, it's like I just joined a gym, I need steroids.
Logically, it will make sense. What I'm saying is that with any drug, your body gets used to it, and it's not going to have the same benefit.
He preached the gospel of hard work and dedication, reminding aspiring athletes that there were no shortcuts to success, only hours spent in the gym, pushing your limits and testing your boundaries. And while some may have dismissed Piana's words as nothing more than the ramblings of a has-been, others saw him as a beacon of hope in a sport that had lost its way. He wasn't just criticizing the status quo, he was offering a lifeline to those who still believed in the true spirit of bodybuilding, who saw it as more than just a competition of chemical cocktails. In the end, Rich Piana may have been a bodybuilder, but his legacy extends far beyond the confines of the gym. He was a voice of reason in a world gone mad, a reminder that sometimes the old ways are still the best ways, even in a sport as cutting-edge as bodybuilding. Facing the consequences. Rich Piana wasn't one to sugarcoat the harsh realities of steroid use. With brutal honesty, he laid bare the side effects that came hand in hand with his choice to embrace performance-enhancing substances. From the infamous roid rage to the heartbreaking strains on his personal relationships, Piana didn't shy away from sharing the less glamorous aspects of his journey. He faced the mirror and confronted the reflection of a man whose hairline was receding faster than his bench press numbers.
Trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives, what they want to become, what kind of job they want to get.
You know, a certain cycle, and I might throw another compound in out of nowhere, high milligrams, boom. Why? Because it shocks the body.
Once you start taking steroids, your testosterone levels, your testes shut down, and they no longer work. Inspire people to think about these other things in life.
You know, a lot of people still don't want to believe that, that it is beneficial.
Bodybuilding is about lifting weights. That's what it's about. It's about pumping iron.
HCG turns your testosterone levels on.
Yes.
Okay? It turns them on.
Yet instead of hiding behind hats or toupees, Piana owned up to the consequences of his choices, serving as a cautionary tale for those who dared to follow in his footsteps. But amidst the tales of turmoil and tribulation, Piana's message remained crystal clear: think before you inject. He wasn't just preaching from a pulpit of personal experience, he was pleading with others to weigh the risks and rewards of steroid use with a level head and open eyes. In a world where the allure of quick gains often outweighs the warnings of potential pitfalls, Piana's candid acknowledgement of steroid side effects was a beacon of wisdom in a sea of temptation. And though his words may have fallen on deaf ears for some, for others, they were a lifeline in the murky waters of performance enhancement. The uncertain legacy. Rich Piana's life and tragic demise as a sobering reminder of the profound impact of steroid use on both the body and the soul. His untimely passing ignited a firestorm of debate within the bodybuilding and fitness communities, forcing individuals to confront the uncomfortable truth lurking beneath the surface of their shared obsession. As supporters mourned the loss of a charismatic figure who championed honesty and transparency, critics raised poignant questions about the risks inherent in Piana's chosen path.
So he wasn't just going on what he heard. Oh, it works the outer? Okay. Oh yeah, it works the outer. Yeah, it works the outer, works the outer.
You know, and it's like the day they start the gym is the day they start the steroids.
Don't ever be skeptical. Don't ever question, don't ever, I don't know or I can't.
Mixing the drugs up. Not taking the same thing for too long. It's very important. Your body gets used to the same thing over and over.
His demise cast a shadow over the very industry that had once revered him, calling into question the ethics and safety of steroid use in pursuit of physical perfection. Yet amidst the swirling controversy and conflicting opinions, one thing remains abundantly clear. Rich Piana's legacy is far from black and white. While some admire his unwavering candor and refusal to sugarcoat the harsh realities of steroid use, others view his life as a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the potentially devastating consequences of prioritizing gains over health. In the end, Rich Piana's uncertain legacy serves as a poignant reminder that the pursuit of physical perfection often comes at a steep price, a price that, for some, proves to be too high to pay. And as the dust settles on his controversial life and demise, one question lingers in the air, begging to be answered. Was it all worth it in the end? That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.